And the final pretty privilege tier is model status. And that's going to be your 9s and 10s.
All right, we've come to my tier. All right, guys, now it's time for Brad versus TikTok, my segment where I take on the craziest and cringiest videos from the Clock app. And today, it's a topic near and dear to my heart that I've personally struggled with from my earliest days, the topic of pretty privilege. Buckle up and get ready to learn about pretty privilege with me from this TikToker, and spoiler alert, there's a real twist at the end.
Today I'm going to explain pretty privilege because yes, I do experience pretty privilege, but there are tiers to pretty privilege and I'm on the lower tier.
Is she calling herself not that pretty? I think she's pretty. I don't think she's in the lowest tier of pretty privilege. That seems harsh. Of course, I'm speaking from the top tier, so...
So pretty privilege has 3 tiers. There's entry level, 8 tier, and model status. So entry level pretty privilege includes all the girls that are a little bit above average looking, but they're not like the prettiest girls you've ever seen, but you would definitely consider them pretty. Being on this level gets you some privileges. Like you can get free drinks at a bar, people want to help you if you're in need, people are generally nice to you, they give you the benefit of the doubt, and this is the category that I would put myself in. And to put this on the 1 through 10 scale, this would be the high 6s and the 7s. You're pretty enough to be treated well because of it, but you're not pretty enough to make a lifestyle out of it. So one level above that is what I call 8 tier, and that's your 8s of the world. And these girls are generally the prettiest girls in the room. They're the prettiest girls you see in real life on an average day. And these are the girls that draw attention because of how pretty they are. When you're on this level, you get all the privileges of entry level, but multiplied. Instead of being able to access benefits, you're getting offered benefits. So people will give you free drinks without even talking to you. People will give you free food. People will just give you free things, honestly. People flock around you. Either girls really want to be your friend or they're very jealous of you and they hate on you, and boys are very obsessed with you. You have the halo effect, which is where people think highly of you just because of the way that you look. It's not based on merit, but people will just think that you're nicer, you're funnier, you're smarter, all because of the way that you look. These girls are immediately likable because of how pretty they are, and they experience the world differently than everybody else does.
So I want to stop because I have a couple points and questions. One, where did these tiers come from? Did she just like make them up, or is this the kind of thing they're teaching in college these days? And two, I think she might be overstating the degree of privilege that an 8 would have in our society. Don't get me wrong. I think this is a real thing. I don't think this is made up out of whole cloth. I think it's obvious, and I think it's actually demonstrable that we tend to view people more positively if they're better looking and just treat them a little bit differently. But is it really as extreme as she's saying? Let me know in the comments, because I also think this applies more to women than men. Are people really just constantly offering you free stuff if you're a beautiful woman? Just constantly? Like, I don't know. I've obviously have never walked in those shoes, so I can't speak to it, but I'm a little skeptical that it's really that extreme as she's making it out to be.
And the final pretty privilege tier is model status. And that's going to be your 9s and 10s.
All right, we've come to my tier.
These are going to be the people that you almost never see in real life. These are the people that you see on social media, that you see on your TV. These are models, these are celebrities, these are influencers. These people make a living off of how pretty they are. They have the halo effect times 1,000, and people want to do things for them just because of how pretty they are. They can get almost anything for free. They can get anywhere for free. They can get into the upper echelon of society just because of the way that they look. Now, why did I just explain all this? Because people like to comment on my videos saying, oh, the reason that happened to you, the reason that you got this thing, the reason that people were nice to you was pretty privilege. It has nothing to do with you and what you did. It's all about the way that you look. And while pretty privilege gets my foot in the door, I've learned how to maximize my pretty privilege by being socially adept and by surrounding myself with people that are prettier than me. Being an entry-level pretty privilege doesn't automatically mean that people are going to give me things or be nice to me because of the way that I look. But it does mean that because of the way that I look, I have the ability to manipulate them in specific ways to get a certain outcome and to get the things that I want from them. It's not a given, but being pretty is a tool that I can use to my advantage. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you don't know me, I'm Vic and I'm a diagnosed psychopath, and I talk about being a psychopath on my page, so if you're interested in that, you can go ahead and follow along, and thanks for watching.
Excuse me? That came out of nowhere. She's like, by the way, I'm a diagnosed psychopath, and I talk about it on my page. That is interesting. Kudos for transparency, and I might have to check out some more of her videos for future segments, because That could be interesting. But I do want to talk more deeply about this for a second, because while I think there's a grain of truth to this video and to this notion of pretty privilege, by the way, guys, like, I'm joking about me being a 10 or whatever. I think I'm a decent looking, but I'm not that conceited. I'm joking, okay? I think there's a grain of truth to this narrative. Like, life is definitely easier if you're just easy on the eyes. People, I think, do subconsciously like you more or treat you better. That is a true thing. But I think she's overstating the extent of this, and I think she's also misrepresenting prettiness or attractiveness as if it's like skin color or eye color or something that's just set and totally out of your control. Some people are just born naturally kind of ugly, and some people are just naturally born beautiful. But a lot of attractiveness is a product of what people put in and get out of things. Are they really fit? I mean, being healthy and thin and fit and lean even changes your facial structure and makes you look differently in ways that make you more visually appealing. It's not just your body. Do you present yourself well? Are you well groomed? All of these things. It's not just some completely set in stone, arbitrary happenstance and circumstance of your birth. It is a variable that you can, to some extent, modify. So in that sense, it's not really this unearned privilege. At least it's more complicated than that. So I think the entire narrative, it misses that. It oversimplifies things. That said, like with the other arguments you hear about privilege from the kind of social justice online crowd, it's not that they're totally without merit. It's not that there's no forms of privilege in society. Of course there are. It's that their viewpoint seems to flatten the world into very simple categories where everyone is privileged or oppressed based on just a few boxes. In reality, individuals are incredibly complex. And when they do this kind of analysis that just looks at a couple of boxes, it totally misses the picture. Somebody might be a white, straight man, and at first glance, the boxes they check on the census, they're privileged. But little do you know, they've got serious mental health issues, they're a survivor of acute childhood trauma, or they have struggled with an autoimmune disorder, or like, there's so many things. And the truth is that privilege versus non-privilege or the lack of privilege is an incredibly complex equation with literally thousands of inputs. So even seeing a pretty person doesn't mean they're privileged. They could have the hardest life you've ever known. And all of these ideologies and activist trends, they seem to really oversimplify things and just try to condense things down to a few identity boxes they can check off and try to see the world in this oppressors versus oppressed dynamic that they love so much, that suits their ideological prior values and outlook. And so they just stick to it. They cling to it. But it's a black and white way of viewing the world. And like most black and white frameworks, it misses the many, many shades of gray. What do you think, though? Do you personally struggle with pretty privilege like I do? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from y'all. And don't forget to like and do consider subscribing as well.